Welcome to Liege Bastogne Liege, the oldest of the spring classics. This event showcases the extreme difficulty of a Tour de France stage, but in a one-day event. The old breaking point of this race used to be out in the countryside on the 5-kilometer La Redoute. Now that breaking point has moved closer to the industrial downtown section of Liège. I'm standing at the top of the Côte de Saint-Nicolas, an 11% grade that's going to separate the last 20 or 30 riders into the winners and the losers. After 260 kilometers, this climb is truly going to bring out the meaning of suffering. Now enjoy Liege Bastogne Liege.
Well, good afternoon too, but we're looking back this morning, in fact, an early start for the Liege Bastogne Liege with the riders on what is looking like a bright morning. This is Zuller signing on at Liège. It's going to be a 10 o'clock start, in fact, 9:45 before they roll out, and 10 o'clock when the gun goes down for the start proper on the outskirts of Liège. 258 kilometres in all, that's 161 miles. Bartoli signing on here. Well, he did quite a decent ride in the Flèche Wallonne, but I think a bit disturbed that he didn't quite hold those wheels when they went up that final climb. Look down into here to the Mappé team coming in great profusion, well, with Bettini, who's won this race in the past too as well, and a word too likewise here with Oscar Freire, the rider from Mappé, the world champion. So they're coming thick and fast, and as far as the Fassa Bertolo team is concerned, they tried what they could last week. It didn't quite work out for them. Can they do what they can? Good to see Rebellin now riding for the Gerastana team. We've not seen a lot of him. We saw him in that Tour of the Basque Country trying in those terrible conditions to do something useful. Didn't quite turn out that way. But all eyes as far as the Lotto Adeco team is going to be will be on the winner from the Flèche Wallonne during the middle of the week, Ertz, and also Verbrugge. This is Pantani hidden behind his Crachat and Beard, and the world's Cameron coming out to pick up the stars coming out. This man De Luca for Psycho, well, he's had a pretty bad start this season, having had that crash in the Milan-San Remo, but Bogart tried so manfully on Wednesday to do well on the Flèche Wallonne, but didn't quite make it, as we now look then at Museau, who cracked everybody in the Paris-Roubaix to take over that jersey, the leader in the World Cup. Giannetti, I think it is there, starting to get himself ready for the day for the Coast team. We've already seen his teammate out there. This is Axel Merckx. My goodness, he split the field on Wednesday, didn't he, Axel? Saying bye-bye there to his wife and lady's offspring. And so with Merckx, who tried so hard last week, here, a man he rode with just a few years ago with the Motorola team. And there on the right-hand side, Henny Kuiper talking to Lance Armstrong as they roll out from the Grand Palais just behind on the right-hand side. And as ever, a massive crowd that turned out this morning in the square. There's a Grand Palais behind where the signing on took place and the presentations yesterday to the team riders. Well, we looked at this morning's start. Now we're going out to a man who's been really illuminating affairs after the race started quite early on. He decided to get off there, and no wonder he's starting to eat now, by the way, because this rider went away after some 14 kilometres of racing. It's Salençon from the Bonjour team, and we're now at some 52 kilometres from the finish, and the main field as ever just decided they might as well soft tap on the way through and do all the action towards the very back end of this race. Some 10 climbs as ever in the Liege Bastogne Liege, the oldest race on the calendar. This is they call it Doyen because it started way back in 1894. More of that as we now climb the Côte de la Vaquée. We're just over halfway of the climbs in this race. Some pretty tough ones are under the wheels of these riders, but in reality it all, I think, will erupt when we get to the La Redoute, which will lie with 223 kilometres under the wheels of these riders on your screen now.
This cycling.
A lot of blue jerseys up the front for the US Postal team, looking after the interests of Lance Armstrong. See the Fassa Bertolo team also trying to control things as the field then wending their way in. Probably just over 45, 47 kilometres to go to the finish. And here our chase group setting after our lone breakaway rider who's been away for an awful long time now. And the gap is coming down all the time. 1 minute to him, and then the chase is then at 1 minute 48 on the peloton. So the gap looks like it could all be swallowed up by the time we get to the Côte de la Redoute, which is the next climb yet to come. Just come over the Côte de la Vaque, 3.2 kilometres, 7.8%. The Côte de la Redoute, shorter one, 2.3 kilometres at 7%, but it doesn't half kick up a bit towards the top end. It's quite a fascinating one, also a very narrow one, and masses of spectators out there. One thing about this race, if you ever come out to see it, the thing about going from Liège down to Bastogne, that's they did it that way round all those years ago, as we go back out to our leader at the moment, because the officials could get on the train in Liège and go all the way down on the train to Bastogne to check the riders through as they turned and went back up to Liège on the return journey. So we've done somewhat a similar thing now, zigzagging. There's a motorway which runs all the way down from Liège down towards Bastogne. Many of the spectators, you see them on all sides of the road, who jump in their cars, go down the motorway, find another little vantage point, back in the cars, back down the motorway, and so on. And also the coach parties from all over the world, and particularly from the UK, as ever, gathering at the start of the race. We've got two British interests today, that of Max Chandry and Roger Hammond. Max doing that very good sterling ride in the Paris-Roubaix last Sunday, and he was saying at the end of it all that he was pretty fatigued by it, and having spoken to George Hincapie, George, you may remember, somersaulted into the ditch, and everything. George said to Max after the race that he felt so tired, he felt he could probably stay in the ditch, and that was he didn't feel like getting out of it. That was the conditions of the Paris-Roubaix last Sunday, and look how things have changed this Sunday, when the sun is shining and the weather conditions are jolly good for the ride. Bear in mind though, 161 miles in all, Quantum Leap from something like the Flèche Wallonne, which we covered for you on Wednesday, when on that occasion they did just over 200 kilometres. That's the difference for these big World Cup races. To cover that extra 50 kilometres or so, that's where the trouble comes. US Postal yet again, and this is the man at the lead who is beginning to look like he's going through hell and high water, but at least he's given his sponsor some exposure, and I don't think he's going to last all the way through to the finish to bring another victory, or a victory for the French. I was mentioning earlier on that Bernard Hinault, the French rider who got it in the very cold conditions, only 21 riders finished the race that time, over 244 kilometres, and the last rider, a fellow called Jostein Villman from Norway, finished 27 minutes down. They had an absolute storm. It came down, and in fact Hinault was chasing after Rudy Pevenage, who's one of the team managers of the Telecom team, and you see the Telecom riders here beginning to appear up on your screen now for the pink jersey, beginning to move through and take this chase very seriously. And this is the split group now, which look like they're trying, I think about 13 or so, that's unlucky for some, trying to stay away from the group. There's not much of a gap there further back, and a good mishmash of riders who all seemed, I think, pretty keen to drive this thing on. We'll collect some of the numbers for you, but certainly Bettini here has been the driving force in it so far, and let's see if he can hang on out and make this thing happen, and will they stay away. That's it, it's all over. See the cars coming through, a sure sign that the chasers will be snaffling up any moment now. But are they going to be able to stay out there? A good gathering of the clans, and about the right sort of pack, I think, to go up that climb of the Redoute, because if you get any more than we've got on our screen now at the moment, then it's quite a narrow bit of road. Somewhere yet to go before we get onto the thing. We've got this little drop down, we've got to get down alongside the motorway, then the sharp turns, so we're not really amongst the thick of it all yet. Just round back, if I can, have a detour. We're now talking about the course going through Sunya on your screen now. This is after 41 kilometres, 270 kilometre course so far. Côte de la Redoute, when they get the top of it, 34 kilometres. So we've still got something like about 9-10 kilometres to go to the top of it. So it's time, I think, for this group here to come and catch them all back. And you might be able to hear in the background at the finishing line the sound of the commentary voice of Daniel Manjas. I think that comes over your screens too as well, because the speakers are there being picked up in the area where they come up at Ulm, this big crowd. Not an enormous one to finish, but Ulm is outside Liège and not the most salubrious part of Liège. The better part lies down by the River Meuse, where we used to finish down there, and now the race comes up through Ulm, where in fact the Tour of Italy is going to finish in early part of May. They're going to have a stage into Ulm. That's to connect Belgium all the way down through the northern part of Europe before they go off down to Italy to celebrate the founding of the European Union. Right, back then with the race. And there I think they've just followed up our leader, who'd been out there for an awful long time, surviving, hopefully, but he didn't quite make it up this climb. And they begin to tail off. That thing is Bolt's just beginning to shoot his bolt. No, I shouldn't say that, should I? But he's drifting off there. It is Udo Bolt's, but I don't think he's gone by any means. Just hanging on there for grim death. This has often been the point when the field in the past used to split to no more than about half a dozen or a dozen men. We started with 13 blokes chasing after our breakaway rider, and having got him back now, are they going to persist with any attacks coming up? I ask myself. Serge Bago working for the Lotto team in there, looking after his teammates too. Back up at the front. God, they make it look so easy. Driving up here in the car is bag enough. They don't ride on your bike up it. You have to come out and see these races and actually come up the climbs. Anyway, this is the 90% bit here. Look back down where they've come from, right down the other side of this mountain. The atmosphere as ever tremendous, but they're not really at the top yet. It goes on up and then turns a bit left. There's big monuments at the top as well, hidden behind the spectators here. Very celebrated climb, this one, being part of Liège over many, many years now. But in the old days, we used to come down the other side and virtually straight back into Liège, but we turn away from the run into Liège and come back in up towards all around the back side of Liège. Well, Bettini at the back is letting his teammate do all the work. I don't think he's going to be too bothered about driving this one forward, probably just waiting a bit till the thing settles down a bit. There's the cavalry. That's bridgeable. Yep, there's one or two riders, I think can get up there to that leading group, providing up the front. Yes, they're beginning to surge one or two riders. I think they're beginning to try and close that gap down. Well, Bettini taking more positive part in affairs now. No, it does flatten out a bit here, but then we come to a semi-T junction, come sharp right turn, and it's at that point where if they've got enough fire, they should be able to hold it a bit further. Anyway, see how it goes climbing up there, and over the left-hand side of the screen, disappearing over the top, and then we come to the sharp right-hand turn. And anybody with this group, this back group, well, you can say goodbye to most of those at the moment taking the part in what happens at Ulm, because unless they can suddenly make a recovery, even if they do get back this lot, they're just showing they haven't got the legs for it anyway. That 13-man group has completely fallen apart at the seams. Well, Bogart was quite confident this morning, and he had a bit of a dig on Wednesday. He's come up to the front at the moment. Nothing happened on Wednesday. I mean, when Chris Broad and myself looked back at the race, we said, well, it it happened, it didn't happen. And got a suspicion at the moment the same thing's happening here, that nobody's grabbed the race by the scruff of the neck. They do stay with us. Come back after this break.
If you own one of the world's finest...
This race started at 10 o'clock Central European time, and that was, 9 o'clock British Euro time, and many were hardly out of bread, I suppose, covering the 258 kilometres, 161 miles in all. The fourth round of the World Cup this year. You can see the gap now only 14 seconds with 25 kilometres to go to the finish of the race. That's just some 15 miles left. We've been all the way down to Bastogne and all the way back again, and that early breakaway from Salençon from Bonjour, he got himself snaffled up with about 40 kilometres to go from the finish, and they got caught by about 13 riders that have been whittled down to the group you see on the front. The information too is that Joan Bazao retired after 175 kilometres, and also Fred Rodriguez climbed off at the second feed, and therefore the Domo Farm Fritz team being thinned down to only about 5 riders left. But still, we've seen that Axel Merckx in there charging hard, looking for some support too from his teammates to try and get up there and get on the podium today. In that red jersey, there's the Psycho Longhi Sport team. Their interest was with Danilo De Luca, who certainly hasn't had the sort of start the season he would like. He had that problem in the Milan San Remo, and then really had a bad day when we started the coverage of the Tour of the Basque Country, when on that particular occasion on day one he lost about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. That put him really out of contention from the race, and that was as far as he's concerned, and he hasn't really fired on all cylinders since then. So it looks as if the Psycho team are going to have to start firing off other riders to try and do something to justify the sponsors' expenditure. And I say that suddenly here we get the little action going on here from Igor Ascabarre from Spain. And in fact, I wonder what happened here with number 98 on your screen there, because Nicky Sorensen, CSC, he was chatting on the two-way radio back to his director sportive. Never did get a chance to have a check out this morning as to whether it's Bjorn Rees or Danny Belts that's in the hot seat today. But this is our little leading group. Quite a fair way down in towards the river at the bottom, and then we're going to turn and go up on that very, very long drag indeed. But this is just a chance to get the breath back, a chance still too to get something to eat if you're feeling a bit peckish, because it's very easy to ride through and think, well, I'm okay, and then suddenly blow over this sort of distance. 258 kilometres, 161 miles. You wouldn't think the way they're churning along here, they're coming all this sort of distance and being up and down those famous Ardennes hills. Gorgeous part of the world, not only do bike racing, being over here for many years now, but we came near Houffles, where they have the on the mountain bike World Cup rounds. And of course, riding today, Cadel Evans, a mountain bike World Cup winner, riding for the Mapei Quick Step team. I think he's having his baptism of fire going over these greater distances, but he's got these two men down in that leading breakaway group, Garzelli and Bettini, and Cammy on this next climb, which lies, they've got to go across here and then go over the railway lines and then up onto the climb, and that I think will begin to sort the men from the boys. Bit of a way to go yet, bit flat down here. I somehow wonder if the chase group's going to try and pull them back on this flat part here, but they seem to have lost a bit of steam. We're going to have a short break now, so if we've got to do anything, do it quickly, because somehow I think that we might find the thing erupt in just a moment. Themselves out going into that climb of the Côte de la Route, hanging on for grim death at the moment. Been slimmed down a little bit here and there in the intermediate kilometres, but when they get this one lying in front of them, they've got this climb over the Côte de Sarthe-Tillman, and of course the final one, the Côte de Saint-Nicolas, up to Arles, the finish. The gap has grown a bit. At one time it was some 14 seconds, now to 28 seconds, and you can see there that they've still got a bit of way to go. The climb the Côte de Sarthe-Tillman, when they get to the top of that one, they'll be 14 kilometres from the finish of the race, and the Côte de Saint-Nicolas, though, just comes with the final 5 kilometres from the end of it all. So it ain't all over yet, although you can see that this crowd, if you've been watching our coverage all the way through, the crowd of riders which hit the bottom of La Redoute was quite considerable. Now it's slimmed down quite a bit, and doing the work on the front still again. The Euskadel team are driving hard to try and get their man up there in a good position too, because the Echevarria in this group, they got both Echevarrias riding now for the team, both David and Una Echevarria. David Echevarria finishing in the 3rd spot last year, 2nd spot the year before that. I think they're trying to get him up on the top of the podium, but they've got to catch this breakaway group on the front, with on the front just there Bettini beginning to pull off, Celestino just behind him, and then Garzelli also in that breakaway group at the moment. Codel was up there too, and so the riders here behind don't seem to be too bothered. Again, the work being put in by the Rabobank team. Lots of pink jerseys from the Telecom squad. Not got Zabel with them today. He's been riding out in the Tour of Aragon, I think it is, where he got a stage victory, and so not exactly his cup of tea up here. There's Bolts just moving through on the left-hand side. Again, looking for Cloden, who's been rather sprightly through his race so far to try and do something. But Wunderkopf has got to be their top man, I'd have thought. And yet again, then, Armstrong driving this lot along for the US Postal team. And the gap then has grown to 42 seconds. No wonder he started to drive this one and say, come on, lads, let's get stuck in and don't hang about any longer. It's getting too close, I think, towards this climb here. The one they go through Tilf and then to the Côte de Sarthe-Tillman. When they get onto the Côte de Sarthe-Tillman, it's a big gear climb, by the way. Those you want to know about these things, riding on something like a 53 by 17 or 19, whereas when they're over the Côte de la Redoute, where the whole thing began to split and blow apart the seams, they were on the inside ring on their 39s, using maybe a 17 or 19, or in my case, probably something like 29, but anyway, or 28. So therefore 39, 17, 39, 19 would be the sort of selection possibly on the Redoute, and now they're going to stick it in the outside ring on the 53 and power up this next one. So it's not a leg breaker like the one that we do have going up in towards the final finish up at Arles, because that really, I think, is when they get on the inside ring again and start to grovel. There, Basso from the Fassa Bertolo team. Work Kessel just in front for the Telecom team. He's not the man I think they've selected to do the work today, so possibly they're going to sacrifice him shortly. Now then, the steam seems to have gone out of this one here. Lost all momentum. Rebellion at the front. Now then, Fassa Bertolo. There is Cadel Evans, by the way, in 2nd spot. When you think this lad was riding mountain bike races so successfully for a few years, and now he's really like a duck to water, has come onto the big road racing and is lasting these longer distance too. But he's marking that one out, because no way is Cadel going to do anything to chase down this league group with 2 of the Mapei team in there. There they are in their multi-coloured jerseys. And that 1 minute, that's going to be quite useful. They've got a long drop down the other side, and it's a dual carriageway and also 3-lane highway. Very, very sweeping drop. 1 minute should be enough to keep them out of sight. Because I think less than a minute, they were being seen on the road going in. We head down in toward a left-hander where the big Standard Liège football ground is, and then on the flatland going through, I don't know if our camera are going to pick it up, not exactly the scenic part of Liège, because we're going quite close to the old steelworks, and still being used a little bit, but many of the steelworks and mines that we over the years which made their money in many of these big towns have now been made a bit redundant, as cheaper steel is available elsewhere in the world. Back then with our lead group, that on the front there, Stefano Gazzelli working his way through those amazing Mapei colours, and there the Fassa Bertolo rider said, I don't think he's really in the frame as far as they're concerned, so that's why the chase, they've had one of his teammates start to put a bit of work on. 173 is Mirko Celestino of the Psycho Longo Sport team, back then Garzelli, and the danger man still there, Bettini, who undoubtedly has got the ability to prance up the final climb of the day.
You can better believe that today's race is a classics classic, and the director's going to be putting full pressure on the riders to perform. If a rider's missed a break or the team hasn't gotten a result that day, you can expect to see a team on the front chasing all day, or the directors are going to give them a full tongue lashing after the race. And I can honestly say I've received a tongue lashing after Liege Bastogne Liege. Now let's get back to the action and see what happens.
Back over the rolling mountains out towards the Ardennes where we come from today, and this is, I tell you, is the bit where if they don't keep getting stuck in, they'll be seen by the chase group behind. And here they are now. Bonjour starting to work hard in the front. Well, who are they going to put in the frame at the moment? I wouldn't have thought they were going to be in with a shout at the end of it all, but you never know. Didier Rousse there, number 211, is the national champion of France. Hasn't got quite the form in his legs. Benetton rode well on Wednesday. The ride Salassan, who was out in the lead for so long, I think has now gone back into the main pack and is probably even further back after that long lone breakaway. So what are they going to do about this one? That's your little descent. Well, little, it's a great roaring descent from here in towards Liège. Not a cohesive chase at all. Right, see the climb yet to come. Going. Now that's surprising with just a small group like this. Kessler's now gone onto the front. His team car came up to him and had a word with him, so perhaps the riders that have been just hanging on here and weren't in the frame and weren't looked upon as being danger men have been told now to get stuck in to draw the sting out of the chase for people like Wunderkopf. So the panic button's being hit now, but it's going to start chasing. Yes, certainly Passabartolo started to work here when I would not have expected that they were trying to do that quite so much. I would have waited then for Bartoli to come up, but even Basso has just been told, I think, to get stuck in. Celestino at the back likewise. This is that long descent in the background. That's not another mountain. I think that's another one of the slag heaps. You can see still belching smoke from the right-hand side. By God, it comes down here a bit quick. There we are. I said not exactly the most scenic part of Liège. Oops, now then. What a disappointment for Rabobank, because they've been doing some of the chasing. We'd seen a lot of work being done by them, and that's been disrupted now. Looks like a touch of wheels has brought him down, and that's certainly taken the edge off the chase. Looking again here as to what exactly. Oops, yes, touch of wheels. But nobody else has come down. That is quite remarkable. Nearly did a lot of damage to his rather nice Colnago bicycle, and the beautiful little clover leaf or flower design upon them. And well, very famous company. They've had some, I think, over 5,000 victories over the years on Colnago bicycles, but he's not going to be riding in there to victory today. This is, by the way, there's a runoff down here somewhere where the big lorries can go if the brakes disappear and you go off into the sand trap and or the dirt track. Well, just past that now. It's a sharp left. Those who are interested in football, shouldn't mention that on a day like this with the English First Division all up for grabs. There it is on the left-hand side, Stand de Liège. This is a flat back right down there. Well, there it is on your screen. Any minute now, we turn sharp right. Again, not exactly the most scenic parts of Liège, but this is where they made all the money over the years gone by. A man called John Cockrell, who was involved with the Industrial Revolution, who was very much involved in the prosperity of the growth of Liège, the coal mining and the steel industry. And of course the mussels and the beer. Yes, certainly the place we come here to investigate the lovely little place, which just from where we normally stay by the Mercure Hotel, go down there and turn left down the back lanes. Can't give any more directions than that, but it undoubtedly served nothing but mussels all the way through. And I forgot to have a crack at mussels with beer, cooked in beer, because that's a great Belgian delicacy. And the Belga restaurant in Britain. Also, if you go there, I think we'd ask them for their recipe or have a crack at it too. If they're mussels with beer, then, and they think the beer they reckon is the Hoegaarden beer. It's a white wheat beer, rather sparkling beers, I think, in which you cook it. Right, back with the race. Who's going to get cooked on this climb? It's not far. That in the distance there, that's the climb they've got to go up. And even now we're going to see the flags, the Italian flags out, because and we also get some Portuguese flags, but mainly Italians, because a lot of the Italians came up here to work in the steel industry over the years. And there we are, St. Nicholas on your screen. Yeah, the gap is coming down there. Well, there's your Italian flags out there in profusion. Always here to cheer on the Italians and to think that they've got Celestino in here from Italy. Oops, the problem here, and it looks like he's had a bit of a delay there. So Aristola from the Psycho team, well, he's got a teammate up in the lead group at the moment, Celestino, but also in there from Italy, Garzelli, and in there too, just on the front now, Bettini, just peeling off the front and dropping back into the main pack. That Dyken rider, Kodal from Italy as well. Kessler from Germany in the pink. On the left-hand side, Basso also from Italy, so they really are at the moment outnumbering everybody else. Just one German rider and the rest are Italians, so no wonder they're getting rather keen indeed and celebrating and cheering what might be an Italian victory. And this is the last of the serious climbs. There is a bit of a drag after this one. It ain't over yet, but they don't count it in on the climbs for the Kingdom Andes competition. But this is where it goes up and round. It just doesn't stop going up, by the way. And you can only get the feeling for the rise. If you look at the way the houses here, they get like a sort of a triangulated shape where the floor level is. And you can see there, like on that wall, how high it is at the left-hand side, how narrow it is at the right-hand side. Give you some idea of the rise at which they're going up here on this Côte de Saint Nicolas. And is Bettini drifting off the front? That's Garzelli at the moment. Probably been sent off down the road to sort him out. They make this look so easy. He's right there on the inside ring now. Bettini's coming up to him. Not going past him though. Gosh, a 1-2 for Mappe, that'll be something. So all except for Kessler in this breakaway group are from Italy, so certainly the Italians have got something to cheer about at this particular moment. There, Garzelli on the front, then Bettini, and it looks like they've cracked it, because when they get to the top of this one, they've got 5 kilometres to go to the finish, and there is a nasty little drag up into Arles, where the Belgians had been hoping to get a victory, but it's not going to happen now. They haven't got a man in that group, and I don't think anybody's got the legs to jump across to join up with them. This is unbelievable. They make it so easy. And it actually isn't part of the course. If you come out to watch the race yourself, that you many people they usually go out and sort of watch it out in the mountains and then either try and get the finish or go to a bar somewhere and watch it. But if you do come out and you have a chance to drive around this particular part of the course, then it really is bottom gear stuff in a car, let alone on your bike, when you've been covering now something in the order of about 250 kilometres of racing. Nearly 160 miles on the wheels, and here they go. Now it looks like these three are just in with a shout to see who's going to be in third spot, because Garzelli and Bettini have got the race themselves at the moment. You just have to marvel at the audacity of this group that went away on the La Redoute and just stayed hovering out there. The lead came down to only 14 seconds at one time, but they persisted with it, and now it looks like that was worthwhile persisting with. Kessler, who didn't do a lot of work in the chase originally, or the lead group originally, been let fly now, but they've gone away. And it doesn't look like anybody's got the ability to get to this group these two riders from the main pack. Bit of cobbles ahead, by the way. This isn't one of our horrendous cobble type races. There was some nasty cobbles when they went up onto Stocko, which is another fearsome climb, but I thought they got through there a bit early before we went on air with our coverage this year. But many of the teams have been out there training on the course and around that particular part. But now here's where there are more cobbles. Just imagine being hammered by this, because having been away, or at least the race started at 10 o'clock Central European time, here they are still pedalling away. And they're going to be in the saddle for something, well, long 6 hours, I suppose it's going to be. Thank goodness it's not wet. Gorgeous conditions. Now, the interesting thing is that at what particular point do these two stop working with each other and try and sort it out? They certainly have gone well. Garzelli was the one that split what was that original breakaway group on that climb, and Bettini's gone too, and Bettini's been spending most of the time sitting on his wheel. Now, we've seen tactics in the past when the Mapei team have had instructions upon who should finish where, but there is the World Cup at stake, and with Museo had 170 points, having retired from the race, there'll be 100 points for the winner today. And looking down the little list at the moment, I haven't got Bettini in the top 10 anywhere at the moment, so Museo, if he gets the 100 points, probably could still live with that jersey. Cipollini, Taffy, well, depends what's happening further back, because those 6 riders stay there. It could be still that Museo might end up with his jersey intact at the end of it all. Just the glory of winning the race today. And Garzelli had a bit of a quiet year last year. Bettini going through, thumping the handlebars when he finished in second spot in the World Championships, but he got his teammate Ferrer across the road. I should say teammate, countryman, I suppose. Best, well, he isn't a countryman. One's Spanish, isn't he? But they were a teammate. A lot of complexity. You may remember those who watched the World Championships going on and who chased and who didn't chase in the run for the line. And when Mapei, a rider riding on the Spanish colours, Freire got it, Bettini was disappointed to be in second spot, but I don't think the boss was that bothered, except the boss of the Italian team. Well, there's 4 men in here that might be able to do something about it. 18 seconds, 20, it has come down. It was over a minute, so it isn't over yet by any means. Climb of the day, just see what little drag it is, 1,200 metres, just a steady grind all the way up. What a change, like contrasting styles. The diddy little one and the larger one of the two, Garzelli, rocking a bit, not the most stylish of the riders. Yeah, the instructions come in thick and fast now about what they should and shouldn't be doing. There, except see the kilometre to go in front of you. It's still dragging up, and then they've got to drag up a bit, and then it's 500 metres, they turn left, and then in toward the finishing straight. Difficult to see out the commentary position. I can tell you there's better watching the boxes, because they come swinging around the corner and whistling through here. Well, Bettini's romped away before in the past. Having a quick look at the World Cup positions behind them, and Rodriguez was 5th this morning. Well, he's retired too as well. Weizmann not running today. Pedegum with 61 points. He's not going to miss. So it could be that at the end of it all that Museo will keep his jersey, and we're going on then to cover the Amstel Gold next Sunday. So can he keep it before we go to our summer break with the big tours coming up? Garzelli grinding away at the front there. What a contrasting style. Bettini just behind him. Those begin to rock a bit now. Who can blame them? Well, a massive group here, but nobody seems to be too bothered about it. That's quite surprising. And Mario Ed's at the back there, wearing number 11 on his back, winner of the Fresh Cologne, seems to have run out a bit of steam. That was a surprise victory during the week, and all he's done today is be able to hang on in. No, that's why I told you how it drags up and drags on, drags on. Well, of the two coming into the race this season, Bettini with 17 victories, Garzelli here with a dozen victories. Bettini very much the Mapei quick step man since 1999. Every year consistently getting some good victories. And he was the man who got bitten by the monkey in the Tour of Langkawi last year, and also he was the man I think who rode over a dead snake. It was, I think, what they call a brown snake, about 6 foot long it was. Fortunately, been hit by a car before the field went over. But Bettini there went out when they were going training and decided to make friends with the monkey, and there's plenty of monkeys out there. And of course he bit him. Fortunately, it wasn't anything dangerous. But there are Bettini at the back and Garzelli at the front. Even Stevens at the moment. What are they going to do? It looks like he's going to... Now, what are they going to do here? They can't freewheel across the line up to equal, whatever they're going to try and do. Wonderful piece of teamwork by the Mapei team. Now they're coming down the finishing straight, and what's it going to be between the two of them sprinting out? On paper, certainly Bettini had the sharper legs, but I wonder who Garzelli did have the best season last year might be given the victory. I don't know. What's going on? Bettini decided it's mine. I'm off. Here we go. So Bettini unleashing yet again that phenomenal sprint. Nearly got the world champion last year, but it's got him the Liege Bastogne Liege for 2002. But two men from Mapei, first and second, and behind, who's going to come in to third spot? Looks like another Italian. Basso has got away from the rest of that breakaway group, and Basso then going to be into third spot. Celestino behind into fourth then. So there he is coming through here. So that's Celestino. Dirk Kodal coming through, and for Germany and Telecom team, Kessler, well, that's a bit of a turn up for the books there, but he took his chance, went with them on that ride up to the Côte de la Route. There on the right-hand side, Casagrande, who crashed rather badly in the Tour of the Basque Country, seems to have lost a bit of verve since then. And it also looks like Merckx having a bit of a go in here too. And the Sproilans are having a go on the sprint, and is he going to make it? No, he's drifted out the frame too. Garastano begin to warm this one up, but they're for the lower places and just points in the World Cup. So Bettini, having won the race, and the previous man up there in the rostrum on the finishing line before didn't have the legs this time round to get up there and get his name up there in the sprint for the top 3 places. So bad luck yet again for Rebellin. Second last year, didn't make it this time. He was in that chase group behind. Well, just under 7 hours of racing is still quite a sizable group of riders still here in this chase group. They were so near but just couldn't quite get it on that punch in towards the finish. Bad luck for the riders from the Westcotel team. They were one of the few teams that prepared to chase down the breakaway, and Bettini yet another victory. So
Paolo.
Delight then for Bettini, winner of the Liege Bastogne Liege.
Paolo, complimento, 2 vittorie e Liege, magnifico.
È la mia corsa, l'ho sempre desiderata. 2 anni
He
fa
said that this is my favourite course,
una corsa veramente eccezionale.
and it's one race I always like to win.
Sinceramente non ci credevo, ma
2 years ago I got my victory, and that in itself was an exceptional race.
Mi dispiace per lo scorso anno.
But I didn't think I was going to be able to win it again.
Non sono riuscito a rimanere con
But this race, I'm especially motivated in this race. It is a special race for me.
Quest'anno un gruppo veramente eccezionale.
So I'm still angry that I didn't win last year. That I couldn't follow the 5 leaders last year.
Siamo venuti qui per fare il risultato con me.
He said that this year we came here for the victory, and the whole team played for the right moment, and they did a great job for me. Looking back again at that sprint, he finished in 15th spot last year, by the way, and they didn't quite catch the breakaway group, so this time he's made it, having been victor in the year 2000. Bettini, victor again here in Liège. And And as far as my notes are concerned here, I don't see any change in the World Cup overall situation, but certainly Bettini and you can see we've got Italian domination right the way down there. No less than 8 of the 10 men from Italy, and that I think bodes well for the rest of the season to come as far as Italy is concerned. But no sign of Palatani, who is probably really at the moment, I think, out of the frame for the Tour of France. There we are, Museau still in the lead then on the World Cup ahead of Cipollini. Bettini moving up, that could be a menace because he might ride rather well in the race next Sunday, the Alps to Gold. Looking at that sprint again, when they came round the corner, they worked so well together, and in the end it was Bettini's sprint that took him through ahead of Garzelli. Italian domination of the Liege Bastogne Liege this year. I'm David Duffield. Thanks for your company today. Bye-bye.